Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and today's video was supposed to be a video on 5 things you should be doing right now to prep for patch 11.2. However, earlier Blizzard pushed a bunch of changes, some buffs, some nerfs to Warlock on PTR, so the video today is going to be based around that, looking at sims, maybe a little combat stuff, depending how long this video goes. I'm not really sure. If we do, great. If not, whatever, it's okay. The 5 things to do now video will be coming out tomorrow, so if you want to see that, check back. And also, while you're here, be sure to sub to the channel. We're pushing for 100k subs this year in the channel, and a lot of good content coming out. Well, content, I don't know if it's good because I make it, but point being, you know what I'm saying. It'd mean the world to me if you guys did. If not, that's okay as well. Okay, so Warlock changes, getting right on into all this. So when it comes to Demonology stuff, now we expected Demonology to probably get knocked down a little bit based on how much they buffed Diabolist, however you say it, sorry, last week on PTR. Let me try and find the changes from last week, actually. So they ended up, yep, that's cool, thank you. I just want to click the button below that one. There we go, thank you. Anger. So last week they buffed a lot of Warlock abilities for Diabolist by a very large margin. Let me see, right here, yeah. So basically last week, they doubled the tier set value, please, there we go. They doubled the tier set value of the Diabolist set, increased by 100%. They increased Wicked Cleave, Chaos Salvo, and Fellseeker by 50%, 50, and 50. At the same time, Ruination and Infernal Bolt were buffed by 50 and 55, respectively. Flames of Zoroth was buffed by a little bit, and there are other changes here too. They buffed like some things for Destro, all that, right? The bigger changes here, though, I want to focus on are Diabolist. Now, this was made to Destruction and Demonology. This is a general Diabolist buff, right? This is last week's changes. The changes today have come in are nerfs to Diabolist Demonology only. Destruction did not get these nerfs for Diabolist. We'll talk about that more in Sims in a minute here as well. So basically they have reduced the 2 set by 45%. So if you look at it, I mean, it's basically almost a reduction of what we had here in a sense, but there's a bit more value left around. It's mostly like been reduced from what it was buffed by. It probably could have been like a 30-ish% reversion for Demonology here, but the big thing is that if they're going to come in and knock down Demonology for Diabolist, you want to make sure that you hit the hero talents that you buffed and what made it really good after the buffs last week. You don't hit Demonology on its own. Don't hit like Tyrant or hit Dogs or anything, because that's going to nerf Soul Harvester as well. Soul Harvester is fine. It's good. Don't hit that. Hit Diabolist, which they did. Very, very good to see. So this has been adjusted to 2 set. At the same time, Wicked Cleave, Chaos Salvo, and Fellseeker have all been nerfed by 20%. This is the big Axe Cleave the big Felgar guy does. Chaos Salvo is Big Mommy's channeling green beam, and Fellseeker is the Pit Lord's beam that comes out of his weapon when he's holding it in the air. Now, these are all nerfed by 20%. However, last week they were all buffed by 50, so they're still buff values from like 2 weeks ago, just not as strong as they were, like, you know, last week. Sorry, it's right here, these 3. Ruination and Infernal Bolt from last week, however, were not touched. These are still pretty strong. Infernal Bolt hits for like 6 million without critting. It's like a 12, I think I had a 15 million Infernal Bolt crit. It's wild. It's very, very good. So they've taken Diabolist Demonology and knocked it down a bit, but haven't touched Soul Harvester Demonology, which is good because both are solid now. This is like a good, I don't want to say a best case scenario, but it's certainly a good case scenario for sure. Demonology was good during the raid testing and stuff, and it's still good right now. Also a pretty suiting Demonology raid. They also came in and buffed Affliction, though. So Affliction had some pretty big buffs, actually. Unstable Affliction buffed by 35%. It was buffed by 25, I think, like 3 weeks ago as well. So some pretty big buffs to UA coming next patch. Summon Dark Flare damage increased by 35%. And the big one here, Focus Malignancy, now causes Malefic Rapture to deal 80% increased damage to targets suffering from Unstable Affliction. Was 40. They buffed this thing by 100%, essentially. That is wild. Rapture hits hard on your UA target now. They really want to buff Affliction, single target, funnel, prio damage. We ran a key earlier, Halls of Atonement. Aff can funnel some serious damage into mobs. If you're getting Dark Harvest value and like just funnel into a mob, it does some serious damage. Now, it's also very important to note here that our tier set from Liberation from Undermine, Malignancy does work with that tier set. So this is going to be a case of they have to come in and nerf the crap out of that tier set, or maybe break the Malignancy part working with that. You don't really want to wear old tier and new raids anyways. They probably don't break the interaction because that'd be pretty rough overall, but they might add some weird clause to it or nerf the modifier a good bit. I'm not really sure, but if you are looking at playing Ash early on in the raid tier, keep your eyes open. There might be large nerfs coming into that set, the Undermine set, because I had this change. So that might be a weird, like, hey, you replace your tier much faster than we anticipated. But we'll see. Not sure where it's going to go. We'll probably find out more this week. Now, as far as sims are concerned here, so I have a handful of sims here. There's a lot going on when it comes to the changes today. I want to try and break these down the best that I can. There's a couple things that were found earlier that weren't mentioned in the changes. So these are all in. Destro stuff's all in. Well, okay, Destro's not. Well, it is, but not what you think. This is all fine, whatever. So a few weeks ago, I forgot the changes exactly, but they were supposed to buff Wither by 10% for destruction, and Blackened Soul by 20% for destruction. However, the Blackened Soul changes never went in, and they instead buffed Wither by 20%. Today, however, they have come in and they've buffed Blackened Soul, but it wasn't by 20, it was by 40%. So we don't know what's going on here. This was not announced in the blue. This is last week. This was not announced in the changes today. So this is likely makeup buffs from a few weeks ago to Hellcaller Destro, which is interesting. At the same time, they have changed Diabolic Ritual tuning in a sense. So this right here is the nerf to Demonology stuff, right? Minus 20. We talked about that already. This right here is a 15% modifier buff to, we weren't sure what. It is a 15% modifier buff to Diabolus Destruction Demons, which happened in May. Let me try and find this. I think Malakath sent it. He did. This was sent to me by Malakath. This happened in May. May 2nd. So about 3 months ago. Welcome to Warlock life. If you aren't used to it, hey, this happens quite often, it seems like. These were pushed, but I guess they never made it into retail. I don't know. That's what I was told. So they pushed those today as well to PTR. So I don't know what to tell you. We tested everything out, and I'll give you a breakdown of that in a minute here too. But maybe they were active on retail for a while and they weren't pushed on PTR based on older builds. I'm really not sure. I don't know if they're even going to clarify. I don't know. But the good thing about this is you can just get into game and test us all out in combat and just figure out what's good and what's bad, right? Now, as far as sims are concerned, okay, this is where things get a little interesting. So these sims have been updated with APOs from earlier. I think it's like 4 hours ago at this point. There's a huge asterisk here. These could be wrong. These are sims that I ran. The AF sims and Demo sims did match the lock Discord, but there's been a lot of APL work and things in the last few hours. They could be a bit off. I don't know. Just I'm doing my best here. People are much smarter than me, and lock Discord can build APLs and run that stuff. I can't do it. But I ran these sims regardless. This is a sim looking at Demo, AF, and Destro. Before you say Diabolus Destro sucks, this is not the right number. I have to use overrides in here to override like the nerfs to Demonology because it wasn't pushed to like, the actual build for raid bots. You can't send these values just putting a normal build in here, right? So there are overrides in here for Affliction with the buffs to UA and Dark Lair. There are overrides for the nerfs to Demonology. The issue with this is that the overrides to Diabolus Demonology also are applying to Diabolus Destruction in these sims. In game, this is not the case. Diabolus Destruction did not get nerfed today. I don't believe it has the 15% hidden buff sim we were talking about a minute ago, but at the same time, I'm not sure. But it certainly does not have... It is not this low. Diabolus Destruction is actually sitting right about here at 5.61 million, 5.5, and 5.45 respectively. Now, if you see RDF, that is Raging Demon Fire, the passive CDF ability. CDF has simmed higher for Destruction for a very long time, but you haven't played it because Shadow Burn brings you mobility, utility, Havoc Cleave, all of that. However, CDF has been way ahead of RDF for a long time, but this has shifted to being RDF due to the buffs to Chaos Bolt, due to the buffs to Incinerate, and also your tier set with the eyeballs you have from Diabolus being able to fling likely another eyeball probably more eyeballs on average and have a higher buff more often, has actually catapulted RDF ahead of CDF because like you're just not casting CDF anymore. CDF's a passive ability, right? The actual like RDF value is horrendous. It's 1 point something. It's 1.2. It's putrid damage, but it being passive allows you to cast more incinerates, more chaos bolts, and more conflagrates and things too, right? But it also gives you the opportunity to spend shards more often, which brings more eyeballs from your tier set, which means when you fling them, you might fling 3 instead of 2, which gives a 6% intellect buff instead of 4. If you compare the buff uptime between the two, I think it's 71, somewhere in here. Demonic Intelligence, 71. CDF is like 65. So a bit higher overall, but also is casting more incinerates, which hit pretty hard, more bolts hit pretty hard. It's ahead. But either way, probably play a Shadowburn regardless. The Hellcaller version here is actually fine for Destro. This is about where Hellcaller is at from what I've seen. This is just lower here because I'm not smart enough to try and separate the Aura or the spell overrides from Demonology and Destruction. I don't know how to do it in Sims. So don't look at this number here for Destro Diabolus. Look at this instead. And then the rest of these should be accurate. So Demonology, Diabolus Demonology is on top. 6.455. There's a bit of variance there I've seen in certain Sims. Soul Harvester's a 5.9. So what we said, they knocked down Diabolus a good bit to be 6.455, and Soul Harvester are 5.923. Now, if they come in and say, hey, Diabolus is still too strong, knock it down again. Soul Harvester is still strong. It's still good. But is it like you're going to play multiple of this class? Probably not. We'll see where it goes. But there's another caveat to these Sims I want to look at in a minute here. Now, as far as Affliction is concerned, 5.6 for Hellcaller. I've seen higher floating around, but I ran that sim here too. Diabolus fell off a little bit here. I don't know if they changed the APL in between me running these sims hours ago. I'm not really sure why. Couldn't find the difference. No big deal. This is probably where it's at more or less. But regardless, once again, don't look at this. These are all correct. Hellcaller Affliction. We ran the second sim here, and it gained a whopping 230k. For Hellcaller, even Soul Harvester jumped to 5.523 from 5.384. And the question is, how did that happen? Because everything else stayed the same for the most part. This fell a bit, probably an APL change. I don't know. Destro felt the same. Didn't really change much. What happened? So, this is what I don't know how to phrase this. Let's pull up Soul Harvester, Hellcaller Affliction, 5.6 million. This is like the sim we ran initially, right? So when it comes to gearing, this sim is playing Azakoplia and Papadoplia and Eras's Ritual Forge, which is probably the best combination of trinkets you can play next patch. Maybe you play the intellect one that with the set bonus too, maybe. But either way, it's playing these two. Now, this one here, the Hellcaller Affliction sim at 5.8, is playing different trinkets, and they gained about 200,000 DPS doing so. And what it is playing is the wrong one. Sorry, false alarm. I'll find it for you. Hellcaller Affliction. There we go. Sure, I think it's the right one. Trinkets. Okay, it's playing one. Sorry, it's playing one different one. It's playing Suspicious Energy Drink over the Azapoplia and Papadoplia at 710. This is a Delve trinket. Now, we're not even sure if this is going to be in the Delve loot table this time around. It's 710, which is max hero, 2 out of 6 myth, comparatively to this thing in Ritual Forge, 13 levels higher. Now, you might be wondering why. Energy Drink and Funhouse Lens are simming incredibly high for a lot of specs right now. It might even be every spec in the game. I don't know for everybody, but I do know that, I think it's even in here, Diabolus, Destro, RDF. They're simming very high, and they're actually giving a lot of value because from what I've heard, Blizzard made a mistake and messed up the scaling for Destro. It's here too. I've seen both this and Funhouse Lens somewhere in one of these sims. Blizzard messed up the scaling on these trinkets. They're scaling at the rate that damage trinkets scale with eye level, and they're not scaling at the rate stat weight trinkets scale, which damage trinkets scale like this with eye level. They scale rapidly. Stat weight trinkets go like this. So they are scaling to a crazy amount, and it's skewing these sims. Now, I know other classes, not everyone's simming with these trinkets, so I'm hoping somebody at Blizz watched this video. Number one, fix the trinkets, please. But number two, don't think that Demo's 6.5 million DPS, because it's probably not. I don't know what classes are simming with these and what aren't. exactly. I mean, technically, this sim is simming with them as well for Diabolus. I don't know what changed here. It's the same sim, literally the same profile. I don't know what changed. Oh yeah, here. There's energy drink and funhouse lens right there. There's Demo, top thing, right? Sussy energy drink and funhouse lens, right? And if you go back to the other one that we had over here at 6.455, I think it's the same trinket combination. Might be different. Let's see. Maybe. I think it is. Yeah, it is. Either way, like, whether it's 6.455 or 6.2, they're likely simming higher than they actually are. Because not every class, if you're comparing Demonology or Hellcaller or Destro Aft to a Mage or Hunter or whatever, they're not all simming with these busted trinkets from Delves that likely won't go live in the form they're in. So it's hard to compare our numbers, from what I understand, our numbers to other classes out there. I think BM is like 6.6 million, I think, something like that. I think LE 6.08. I don't know where Frost is at and stuff, because it's, you know, day one of the tuning and all that, right? But either way, it's very important to keep that in mind. But if you are a fan of Affliction or a fan of Destruction, not looking too bad. A Hellcaller Affliction with those crazy trinkets is sitting at like 5.832. Without them, it's sitting at like 5.6. Not Diabolus Demonology, but it's not that far off of Soul Harvester Demonology. And depending on the damage profile you want, if you want Hellcaller Aft somewhere, like on the Demo Hunter boss, that looks pretty good. To a similar extent, Diabolus Destruction, sitting right here. I'll admit this is, you know, Diabolus and the Hellcaller, but either way, if you want Diabolus profile somewhere, even like pure single target, right? 5.641. This also is playing some of the trinkets too, but like not horrendous, not terrible, right? Now, do they need some more buffs? Probably, yes, at some point, probably get an aura buff or two, but it's not what it was before. Overall, the buffs today for Demonology was, I heard, an 8% nerf, I think 7.1 down from what it was, and roughly a 12% buff for Affliction. So we'll look at Demonology Aft really fast in combat here. Not going to be a huge video on them because I don't want to take forever on this, but we'll look at both right here in combat and go from there. I would assume things will likely shake out more over the next few days with more accurate sims and all that. But once again, credit to people in the Lock Discord for finding out all these APLs and working through it all and stuff. I can do basic things. They can do smarter things. That's why I live in Florida. They don't. They're smarter. Alrighty, so very briefly, we're going to look at, we'll look at Diabolist, Destro in single target, and we will look, it's a little loud, and we'll look at Soul Harvester as well in single target. I don't want to do every spec today. I'll do more on stream tomorrow and all that, but like I don't want to spend a half an hour doing this in this video because we've seen a lot of stuff already, and there likely be more changes coming out and things discovered in the next few hours anyway, so, you know, there's that. But same build here for Diabolist and single target. We are indeed playing Fellow Invocation over Gambit again. Everything else is like the same for the most part, but this ended up semi higher than this, and yeah, here we are. So I will say there's always a bit of variance like in Demo's opener depending on crits and things, but honestly, like the damage output from testing this on dummies is still pretty solid. Like it's not to the point where it's like this is Omega OP, we have to play this everywhere. You're stacking Demo locks, you know, like crazy, but the damage output's pretty good. We're not going to pot this, just regular Tyrant, strength it up like usual, and just go in here. So like Diabolus starts off a little slow as far as like damage is concerned ramp-wise, but it picks up a lot over the next little bit here. Once we get like eyeball stacks rolling, which we have now, 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, 4.9, we have a Demon spawning in, 5-1, launch an Infernal Bolt, which I don't think it crit, but it still hit really hard. 5.4, and the thing with Diabolus Demonology is that it will sustain damage. You have the demon spawning in every so often. There's the Pit Lord with the Ruination. You can see the damage jump here from the Ruination. There it is. It'll sustain damage a lot better than Soul Harvester does, right? What did my Infernal Bolt hit for? Hit for 5.6 without critting, so that's a 11 million Infernal Bolt if it crits. I've seen way more with pots and better lineups and stuff, right? But standing around here, roughly heading into a Tyrant, looks pretty good. This is a bit more of what Destro and F have sustained in my testing heading into like CDs at this point, right? Dog proc, Infernal Bolt, see if it crits. Crit for me, please. Crit. It did not. It's okay. Tyrant again. There we go. 10 imps, sitting at 4.8. See what we climb to here. There's a demon, 3 eyeballs for max int buff, Ruination. Hits 5. This is honestly a bit like on the lower end too, from what I've seen in recent testing. But once again, like you're not going to drop off in between to these like 4.5, 4.4. You're going to sustain around like 4.9, 4.8, give or take. And then if you like, whenever you Tyrant again in a minute, you're going to have even more damage coming in, right? So it's very consistent in its damage profile. Soul Harvester feels good too, but it's more upfront burst comparatively to what Diabolus is doing, right? So we know we get Big Tyrant coming up in about 20-ish seconds here. So we're going to start queuing up some things in a minute. Get some imps out here. Yeah, oh. Hand. We'll siphon. Launch a bolt here. And right about here we can begin prep. So there's Grimoire. Purple Dog. Shadow Bolt. Launch some hands. Got dogs queued up. Hand it. We got enough imps, sure. Throw the Tyrant, why not? Bang, there you go. It's going in at 4.92, popping Trinket. 3 stacks of eyes, refreshing. Big Mommy's here as well. Holy moly, look at that, boys. 5.2. 5.2. And honestly, like, this is sort of on the lower end. Oh, I'm not flasked or ruined up either. So yeah, this is actually pretty good. I don't have a flask or any grease on or anything. We're at 5.4, 5.5. It's good. It's solid sustain. As far as the breakdown's concerned, Immutable Hatred, 4.7. Seen it a bit higher before. Depends on core refunds. Imps, Eye Blast from your tier set was nerfed by about half today. Still 8% roughly. You're maintaining about a pretty high stack of 6% almost with every set you fling. I'll fling some again right here in a minute, and there's 3 again. So 6%. Your Cloak's doing about 4.5 to 5%. It was buffed today by 180%, so that's good. Tyrant's here. If you've seen Demo's breakdown, it's basically Demonology when it comes to single target, but not too bad overall. It still feels good, and this raid is a good Demonology raid. I mean, I think it's actually it's like a solid Warlock raid if Destro and Aff are tuned at a higher level. They're tuned at a fine level now. But if we're tuned at a higher level, like where Demonology is at, it would be a very, very good Warlock raid. At this point, like if Demonology, if they come in and nerf Diabolist again, or Demonology in general, we're not like, we're still probably in trouble. But I don't think they're going to anymore. I think Demonology is in an acceptable place. There are classes that are simming higher than us at this current point in time too, so that's good. We're going to play Soul Harvester here. This dummy is going to be low on health, so we're going to have Drain Soul doing double damage and execute from the start. Basically, it is what it is. I can't control it. Just keep that in mind. Whatever the breakdown looks like, trim off half the Drain Soul damage. But regardless, Aff's burst with Soul Harvester is really good. You've got the upfront profile with your tier set spawning in, like the Rapture dude or the Shadow of Death dude. The buffs to Malignancy today are wild. 80% more Rapture damage, up from 40% is huge. I also buffed UA or playing Xavius' Gambit. Let's do it. So, trinkets are good. I'm not playing the OP ones, just whatever we got here. Going on in. So we're going to have basically a permanent execute in this mob. Is what it is. Can't do much about it, but pop Trinket, pop Dark Lair. I'll pop. Let's pot it. Why not? Sure, we'll pot it up. See how high we can get. 5, 6, 7, 8. I lost my stack of Nightfall. I didn't want to do that. I was trying to push for 10 million. 8. Keep pushing. 8. I can't hit it. I was greedy, but I didn't pot the demo opener, obviously, so it's a little bit more inflated here comparatively, but still, like, that's a 9 million opener. That's a lot of front-loaded damage. If you pull up the breakdown here, look at Darkglare. He was buffed by 35%. He's juiced. Look at him. He'll fall off a little bit, but 38 million damage out of my Darkglare is pretty crazy, right? Rapture, biggest hit being 6.5 million. Drain Soul, Demonic Soul, UA, all that. Apparently the Soul Anathema buff that went in was also not implemented recently. Not sure what's happened with that, where it's at. Maybe at some point they figure it out and push it. I don't really know. But yeah, look at Cloak too, a bit higher. Cloak gets the benefit of Haunt and Shadow's Embrace damage modifiers, so your Cloak will do more damage on average for Affliction than it will Destro and Demo, because you have Haunt and Shadow's Embrace modifiers once again. So I'm behind in the resources because I was yapping. I'm going to try and dump some here. Got a proc, it's okay. I'm yapping too much, but either way, you can see, like, we're still sustaining a good bit of damage here. I did pot it, so it's a bit skewed, but I wanted to go big damn. And honestly, like, you'll notice when we get into sort of about now, like, we are in execute here, so this drain is hitting harder than it will be by double, but the damage is still dropping off a good bit, right? It's not like Demonology where you're opening up at, you know, like 6 million bursts, but you're sustaining 5.1, 5.2. When it comes to Aff, I mean, like, I opened up at 9 million. I'm down to 5.1 already right now. Now, I have Darkglare coming up in 10 seconds, but it's much more peaks and valleys in the damage profile than what you have for Diabolist Destro, which is good in certain cases and also worse in some, right? If you want, like, a bursty damage profile, then, hey, great, you got it. If you want to assign CDs at a certain point in the fight to blast your shield, you got Aff to do it, let's go. Other times, We have 3 stacks of TC here. Big damage going in at 5 million. Let's see what we end at. So Rapture, Rapture, Rapture. Dump these, cast Haunt on CD. 5.4, 5.5. This is without a pot too. This is with Trinket, but no pot. I need to dump one of these Nightfall stacks eventually. Just don't want to overcap on shards. 5.6. So you're bursting a good bit here, right? 5.6, basically 5.7. But this damage won't last. You're going to fall off a good bit here. When we go into our next PS and Soul Rot window, we're going to probably be at like 5.1. I'd venture to guess again. 5.1, maybe like 5.2. But the damage also, once again, being inflated by Drain Soul, which is doing twice the amount of damage because this mob is in permanent execute. So, and a bit of it also is RNG relying, or depending on Nightfall procs and all that. So we'll go a bit longer here, see where we're at. We're already dropping off sub 5.4. Even draining here, barely even sustaining 5.4. Rapture a little bit. Dump another thing. We're getting a lot of Drain Soul procs, honestly. This is like sort of helping us stay afloat here. Refresh some dots. Go into my Singularity. Soul Rot. Throw one of these. Throw a Haunt. Rapture again. Don't want to overcap on shards too much. Throw some of these. Not like the optimal rotation, but either way, you know. But if you pull up the breakdown here, we've done 1.13 billion damage. But you've got Drain Soul doing 164. Cut that in half. Make it like 80k. So trim off like basically 80k from this, and you're looking at like, I don't know, what, 5 million, give or take, DPS wise. So not bad. Not as good as Demonology, but the single target's there. And if you're in like an AoE setting, you can go over here and like have a Prio mob and then just Soul Rot, Dark Harvest, cleave these down, extra shards coming in, just nuke the mob down. Did a Hall of Atonement earlier. Like on shard packs, the shard gets deleted. It's gone. AF is insane funnel with this build. With the Haunt buffs, I think it is wild. So yeah. So thanks for watching, guys. Wraps it up and hopefully helps summarize a little bit on the buffs and nerfs and just changes to Warlock that hit today. I think it's probably still going to change over the next couple hours, maybe day or so, with like the weird hidden buffs and nerfs. I don't know what's going to happen, but things will probably change. So if they do and they're big enough, I'll make a video on it again. Tomorrow's video is going to be on 5 things to do for the patch prep wise, because there's actually some pretty cool stuff to do. Haven't really talked about it much, so that will be talked about then. If you guys have any weak horrors, add-ons, or anything you saw in the video, links to Twitch and Discord all up here, as well as down below in the description. And like always, a massive thank you to all supporters on Patreon for all support. Like always, guys, thank you a million times. Without your support, I wouldn't be able to do all this and everything. So I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. I don't know what to say, but I appreciate it. If you guys are looking for support on Patreon, there's a link up here, as well as down below in the description. So with this being the last week before the patch, I don't know if there's really going to be much more tuning coming in. There might be some little things here and there if there are some outliers still. Like I think BM still at 6.6 million or something like that. They might get hit again. I don't know. But I think you're probably looking at more like just item tuning, trinket tuning, like tier sets from Undermine being nerfed heading into S3 on PTR at this point. What you see right now is maybe what you get when the patch goes live. And if that's the case, I think Demo's looking pretty good. And Destro and Aff got brought up a little bit. They'll get their token aura buff at some point too, but you know, that's how it goes. But we'll see. Today could have been a lot worse, put it that way. So thanks for watching, guys. If you like the video, hit the like and sub buttons below. It helps out a ton. We're pushing for 100k subs on the channel this year. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Lost my train of thought there, but I'll see you later. Nerf Boomkin. Peace.